How much does it cost to publish a book? That is one of those questions where if you ask 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different answers. The honest answer is that how much it can cost to self publish a book is going to vary wildly depending on what services you feel you need and how much you want to take on yourself, as well as what your budget is going to be. My name is Nate Gillick. I am the author of Welcome to the Nexus, my debut novel. And in this video, I am going to be talking about my own experiences with the cost of self-publishing a novel and setting up an author business, as well as discuss some general financial principles I've learned about running an author business over the last 4 years, from my own experience, but also from attending author conferences like Author Nation. So, besides my own experience, I have a good sense of ranges on what other people have done. And so I hope to give you a more realistic perspective of what the potential costs could be versus trying to give everybody a one size fits all answer to that question. So let's dive in. So, the most important thing to think about when publishing a book is what can you afford to spend? I cannot answer for you what your budget should be for the book, but think about your own situation and the information that we're going to go over here to come to decisions. So, I'm going to kill my camera for a minute here. And now this is a breakdown done by ChatGPT, full disclosure, on potential costs an author could incur over the course of producing a book. And I want to provide some actual context on some of the line items here. Developmental edit and manuscript critique up at the top. That is hiring a professional editor to look at pacing, story flow, character development, character motivations. That's a lot of the high level idea of the story. A line edit and a copy edit and proofreads. Those are more detailed sentence level edits, looking at the quality of the prose, proofreading, looking for typos. All of these three, you're going to hear different opinions about how necessary they are. Some people are going to tell you that it is absolutely imperative that you hire editors, and that without hiring an editor, your book is going to look unprofessional or sloppy. Those people want you to buy editors, or they're probably editors themselves telling you that. I do not think it is absolutely essential. Caveat: this is going to be highly dependent on your innate skills and your capacity to edit your own work. Some people are very strong self-editors. Some people are not. I did not hire any editors for producing my book, and I saved a lot of money that way. However, I have been offered jobs as an editor before, so I trust the level of skills that I have to edit that myself. Plus, I had at least 5 additional sets of eyes reading the book, looking for typos, looking for any specific errors and details that I pointed out to them. So it wasn't like I just looked at my manuscript myself and then sent it off. There were multiple sets of eyes looking at it, but those were beta readers and volunteers and people I did not have to pay for. So all of those line items, take that with a grain of salt. It is important to release a quality book. I would not skimp on costs and release an inferior product, but if you think you have the editing chops, then go for it. Cover design, $50 to $300 for a pre-made. They say $300 to $800 for common indie range, and some premiums can be $1,000 to $3,000. I agree with ChatGPT on all of that. Those are ranges I've seen a lot. My custom illustrated cover, this was $550 custom illustration, to give you an idea of what I had paid for that, which puts me in the common indie range. Interior formatting, that would be if you're hiring somebody else to buy it. Again, I paid nothing on interior formatting, at least in my mind, because I purchased Atticus as the software that I use for book formatting. So that was a one-time fee of $100. The price has gone up since I bought it, but I only paid for the software once and now I have it. And so for me, that is a general business expense to cover all books, not just a price for one. But for your first, it would be an item to think about in the budget. ISBNs, some people think you should buy them, some people don't. It is $0 if you get a retailer's ISBN, 125 if you buy one for yourself. I bit the bullet and I bought 100 at once for $550, $575. I've got it in a slide here as a general business expense that I will be good to go for a very long time. Copyright registration is 65. That's what I paid. ARC review services, I paid under $50 and I used Book Sirens. So it does not have to be terribly expensive. I think most folks, unless you're using multiple ARC services to get advanced readers and reviews, most people are going to be in the $0 to $150 range. We don't even need to worry about the premium and high touch category here. Author proof copies, $25 to $150. I would recommend getting at least one proof copy of any book from a printer that you're planning to use to audit the quality yourself before it goes into mass distribution. But I would put that more in the 25 end than the $150 end. I think I spent $20 each with Book Vault and Amazon KDP on proof copies, so I was maybe $40 there just to verify the quality of the product that readers would be getting themselves if they placed orders. Launch marketing and ads. This can be all over the place. If it's your first book, I have heard repeatedly from people I trust that it is very hard to make a positive return on investment for paid ads unless you have at least 3 books out. So I probably would not spend much in paid advertising on launch. I didn't. Live events were my strategy for getting word out instead of online marketing. So you could say my launch marketing or ad budget went to table fees for live events. And there I also get to talk to readers face to face, work on my pitch, see how people react to things. So, over the first year of my book's life, I've probably spent more than $300 in marketing if we're considering it table fees. But I haven't paid anything to Facebook or Amazon or anybody else for digital advertising online. The last item, website newsletter and tools, $0 to $300. That's where, for the lean DIY, that is where I'd recommend most people start. Lots of newsletter services have free tiers up to a certain number of subscribers. So if you're just starting out, get on a free tier with somebody so that you have a newsletter and a way to contact fans. Worry more about getting the newsletter signups than the cost, and go from there. But so here's my breakdown. And now for this is explicitly book related expenses. So I paid $550 for my custom illustrated cover, $22 to Book Sirens for advanced reader copies, and $65 for copyright registration. So that's less than $700 exclusively on the book. The overwhelming majority of that being the cover. As I said before, I spent $0 on editing because I have a degree in English creative writing. I trust my skill set there, and I had multiple other sets of eyes on it as well that allowed me to sidestep that expense. But then beyond the explicitly book related fees, I have fees that I call general business expenses. This top line here, author brand assets, is optional. I had a logo made for myself as well as a logo made for the series and some business card assets, and all of that cost $225. Not necessary for a debut author, but my book is profitable. I've earned back everything I put into it. So I was in a position then where I could start spending that extra money to level up my game even further. I would not, I would skip this line if you're just starting out. ISBNs, I spent $575 on that to buy 100 because I want to be good and not have to worry about that expense for a very long time. I am planning to publish multiple books, and beyond that, I see a potential future where I also act as a small press for other people's books. So I wanted to have the capacity to do that. So I spent the money on the front end to buy 100 ISBNs. That is not something that is absolutely necessary. Again, that is a cost that you could avoid. Atticus, $100 for the book formatting. That one I do consider an essential expense for me because that is how I do all of my book formatting. And I find Atticus pretty easy to use. I'm able to do that myself. So that was one $100 expense that I will never need to pay somebody else to do book formatting for me because I can do it myself. Now, if you're planning to run an author business and you want to sell multiple books and you're planning to make money long term, it's important to understand recurring costs. How much does it cost to keep the lights on? And so I want to showcase some recurring expense examples of things that you're going to need to continue paying for as long as you stay in business. Book funnel. I subscribe to Book Funnel right now at the beginning plan, $20 a year. This gives me a method to easily distribute bonus content to newsletter subscribers and have giveaways as part of my new subscriber sign up flow. So when somebody subscribes, they're given that bonus content, and all of that is handled in the background automatically by BookFunnel. So I pay $20 a year for that right now. Domain registration, $19. That is for the domain name nategillick.com for my own author website. Professional email, $35. That is so that when I send an email to somebody representing myself as an indie author, the email address is nate@nategillick.com. It's not authornategillick@gmail.com or some other kind of Gmail address because Gmail is a common vector used by scammers where they will use an author's actual name, but it's not actually the author. I wanted an email from my branded domain name to help increase certainty that I am who I say I am and that it's not some scammer impersonating me. So that was worth the $35 to me. And again, that's an annual expense. Web hosting, $96. I use Tertulia for authors for this. I may switch at the end of the year once my term is up, but I'm prepaid for a year. So that is what I'm paying to have my own website hosting and use their site builder. Accounting software, $190. I use Wave Accounting. This is the most optional expense on this list. I do not enjoy compiling receipts or managing transaction tracking. So I have Wave Accounting to import all of my bank account transactions automatically. It can generate profit and loss reports. It can do a lot of things for me that I could do myself, but time is money and I just can't be bothered. So I would rather just review everything that it came up and check for accuracy versus needing to manually assemble all of that information. So I pay that $190 as a lazy tax at this point. But as business picks up, it'd be even more necessary. But if somebody doesn't mind doing all of their own accounting in more detail by themselves, that is an expense that could be cut. Agent of record services. If you are not publishing under your own name and you wish to set up a company or an LLC as like a small press or a brand name, then you would probably want an agent of record because that will keep your personal information from being immediately as findable on the internet or for anybody who's searching for you. So the service I use is $125 a year. All told, that equals I have $485 a year in overhead. So that is the amount of revenue or profit I need to make just to break even on an annual basis. Some of the people may not take on all of these expenses right away. That's completely fine. I wanted to, act like a business and try to have the most professional setup I could and continue leveling it up over time. So those are my annual that's my annual overhead right now. And that means I need to make a monthly profit of $40.42 to break even on the year, and anything above that would be more genuine profit. Now, print costs. I wanted to include a print cost copy in here because a lot of people love print copies, want to sell print copies or do live events. And it's important to think about the money involved in that because it's very easy to lose money on print if you're not paying attention to that. So, my book is not going to be a typical example because it is 550 pages thick. This is a big chonker of an epic fantasy novel. So my print costs are higher than what I think they're going to be for the average author. Also, I use Book Vault for printing because I find the print copy or the print quality is much better than Amazon's printers at KDP. So I will pay for that difference because I want my brand associated with quality and I don't want books that are going to fall apart the first time somebody's reading them. So for 100 copies of my book, and these are real numbers that I actually paid, it was $910 in printing costs for 100 copies using the Book Vault's US printers, $9.10 each, basically. Plus, then I paid $89.83 in taxes on that and $102.16 to ship it to me, which means inclusive of all fees, I pay $11.02 per book. And at $20, we're going to simplify the math and leave sales tax on the selling end of this out of the equation and just say it's $20. Let's say I pay $11 per book and ignore the 2 cents. I'm making $9 a book. At $9 profit, at 56 copies sold, this print run has broken even on itself. So I'm profiting on the final 44 copies of that print run, less any table fee expenses. And so let's say I have a fresh 100 copies and I pay $100 in a table fee, that's roughly 11 books for me to sell. 11 times 9 is 99. Call it breaking even. I'd have to sell the 12th book to be into profit. So 11 copies, we'll say, to cover the table fee means I am now down to, I need to sell 100 books to profit on 33 copies. And if I don't sell 100 copies at that one single event, which would be very difficult to do, now my profit is on 33 copies less whatever I pay for the next event. If it's another $100 event, then I'm profiting on 22 copies, after paying for the print run plus those 2 table fees. So that's the math that needs to happen when you're thinking about live events is what is my profit margin per book? How many books do I need to sell just to pay for the print run? How quickly do I need to sell out of this print run to actually make money in the face of table fees as well? Or how much do I stand to lose? I consider live events good practice to work on your sales pitch, see what marketing tactics resonate before dialing those up to online and even broader spaces. And it's a great way to meet readers, get newsletter signups, and start cultivating a fan base for the long run. So even if a live event doesn't necessarily pay for itself that immediate day of, if more people are aware of you and they start talking about you to their friends and the word of mouth marketing engine starts going, it can break even and be profitable in the long run that way. Now, this is the section that's going to get some people mad at me. I say base luxury expenses on actual income. Luxury expenses I have defined as purchases that feel fun, impressive, validating, or potentially useful, but are not required to produce a book. These could be professional photo shoots. If you want to have an author photo in the back of your book, you don't need to hire a photographer and do big fancy setups for that. You can, but it's not strictly necessary. Getting stickers, bookmarks, art prints, swag of the characters. And I don't blame anybody for wanting those things, but do you need them to publish a book? No, you do not. Those are not part of the book. Just like a deluxe hardcover edition with sprayed edges and the bells and whistles and all of that. Those are great for people with fan bases that will buy them. I have not done it as a debut author. I do not recommend any other debut author do it because those are expensive, not guaranteed to sell, and you don't have proven demand for those. Wait until further along in the series when you have a larger fan base because those can be very, very expensive items and those could blow up someone's budget very quickly. And the last one, professional audiobook narration. Yes, we want audiobook versions out. The audiobook industry is booming, but I've seen too many authors spend thousands of dollars on professional human narration, and 7 years later, they still have not turned a profit on their books. Uh, it is not necessary for the publication of a book to exist in every format at launch. It's easy enough to do an ebook first, if nothing else. Ebook plus print, I think, is reasonably easy to do at the same time. Audiobook can wait. And I'm going to show you how expensive an audiobook can be. So I have talked to professional narrators and I say, hey, what is the going rate if I wanted to hire you? And the standard industry rate right now is $250 per finished hour. It could be higher for premium talent, people who are highly in demand and they're booked out for months with lots of things. They could command higher fees, but a safe floor to assume is $250 per finished hour. I then asked, okay, from an author's perspective, what does that mean for me? Because I need more context than that. And I was told roughly 9,000 words equals one finished hour of audio content. Okay, great. Now we can break that down. So total word count divided by 9,000 is how many hours an audiobook might be, multiplied by $250 equals your anticipated cost. Now, I have a very big epic fantasy novel, so my 178,000 words will break down to almost 20 hours. At $250 an hour, we're talking about $5,000 for an audiobook. That is a big financial gamble to take on oneself as a debut author right out the gate. Or, I can hear somebody saying, well, Kickstarter it. Again, you need to have a fan base that's willing to finance that to be able to spend be willing to give you the $5,000 for that. Or an 80,000 word thriller, $2,222. So when I say base luxury expenses on actual income, what I mean is take a portion of your proceeds and set those aside for those kind of expenses. So I take 15% of my profits and put those towards those high-end expenses so that I have a secondary sub account in my business bank account for this where the money gets automatically transferred over to that. And once that account hits $5,000, then I would start looking to hire a narrator if I don't have an audiobook production company interested in absorbing that cost and buying the audiobook rights and doing it themselves. I wanted to conclude this presentation with what I consider bad advice that is often given out in the writing community. Number one, you have to spend money to make money. I don't like this one because it is true in some sense that it's unlikely that you're going to self-publish a book at zero cost. Um, Does that mean, because that would mean you doing every part of the process yourself. So some expenditure is probably necessary and inevitable, but I think the idea of you have to spend money to make money just justifies spending for the sake of spending, and feeling like spending money equals progress or quality, which is not necessarily true. So when you spend money, ask yourself, is this really necessary? Is it related to publishing the book, or is this something I can live without? Your first book probably won't make money. I think anybody who is saying this is probably true for them. Maybe their first book didn't make money. My first book has made money. Every dime I spent on my book, which was about $2,500, I think, between explicitly book related expenses and all expenses related to setting up a business. That also includes $500 for the sequels cover, because I wanted to have the sequels cover done before I even published the first book, as a way of showing people that I am committed. I'm in it for the long haul. That, if my book doesn't sell 100,000 copies, I'm just going to quit. No, I wanted that investment. So I invested 2,500, which I was willing to, bet in myself over the long term. And all of my money, I've made it all back. So I already have the funds to publish the next several books. So don't listen to that defeatist attitude. If you have a quality cover, a quality pitch, if you know how to market your book online or sell at live events, I do very well at live events. So I just want people to understand that yes, you can make money on a debut. You may not make six figures or be set for life, but it is possible to make more than one spent. Rapid release is the only way to make money. Kindle Unlimited or nothing. That is increasingly untrue. There are plenty of authors who are making a killing on Kindle Unlimited, but direct sales is becoming increasingly more popular. Authors want to have that control of being able to sell and offer products directly to their fans. I think it's great, and it's only increasing. There are a lot of other retailers and ways to sell a book besides being all in on Daddy Amazon. Get a second job if you can't afford it. This one drives me nuts. I don't like it when other people tell other people how to spend their money. We only have a set amount of time in our lives. None of us are immortal. And if you are working a second job to finance your dream or publish a book because other people tell you that's the way to do it, don't live your life on other people's terms. If you're working a second job to afford financing the book, you're not using that time to write the book or write the next book or work on writing a cover design brief or doing any of the things that need to be done. You know, I would, if I had the choice between taking a second job to be able to afford to pay for all of the things other people tell me I need to pay for to publish a book, or bootstrap it and release a more basic book and use revenue from that to do bigger and better things over time, I think I'd rather release a more basic book. Everybody's advice is going and attitudes are going to be different on this, but there's no guarantees in publishing, and there's no guarantee that any given book is going to turn a profit. So I would just personally not want to spend a lot of hours of my life to produce something that may never earn back its own money. And if other people want to do that, live your life. You can make your own decisions, but don't let other people tell you that is what you have to do to be able to afford to publish a book. Just hire a fill in the blank. Again, this is other people telling you how to spend your money. Just hire an editor or get a real artist. Don't use AI to generate your cover. Don't let other people make your value decisions for you. They don't know your budget situation or any of that. I hired a artist for my covers because my book was profitable and I could afford to because I had made that money in serialization on the front end before the book even came out. But that is also an item I would have spent the money on. Um, but people could say just hire an editor. I know how to do that, so I didn't need that. Again, you have your own sense of what your skills and capabilities are. You'll know better than anybody else what you do or do not need to hire out, but I would not let a stranger tell you how you need to spend your money. Next one, if you price your book low enough, readers will take a chance. I don't like that advice because a book can be on Kindle Unlimited, where Kindle Unlimited subscribers can download it at no additional cost because they already have that subscription and read it. And just being on Kindle Unlimited does not guarantee that anybody is actually going to read it. It is not true that if a book is priced low enough, that is just going to make people click the buy button. I can think of a lot. I've got a lot of free books over time that sit on my Kindle hard drive and I haven't read, and who knows when or if I ever will, because people value what they've paid for more than what they haven't. And so I kind of think the opposite. If I had to pay more to buy a book, my expectation of quality is going to be higher. For a book that I paid $6.99 for versus an entire box set that I got for 99 cents. I guarantee you, going off the bat before I've actually read through any of them, I think the $7 book is better than the 99-cent box set. And it's like, there's a reason you had to give it away for 99 cents. Again, that's just what's going through my head. I don't think that low price automatically thinks that people are going to give you a chance. So that is a breakdown on a lot of general financial guidance. Again, my grand total of expenses for everything to produce the first book was about $2,500. And I have earned all of that money back, I'm very happy to say, and hard at work on the sequel. You don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to publish a book. Somebody could absolutely publish a quality book for even less than I did, but I spent a lot on the front end trying to set up a business for the long term beyond just the one book. I probably could have released Welcome to the Nexus for under $1,000 if I had just gone only about the book and not more long-term expenses. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives everybody some things to think about. If you liked it, please hit the like button. I'd be happy to hear from you in the I'd be happy to hear from you in the comments, and I hope everybody has a great day.